Hello my people, welcome back to the channel. My name is Lolly. In this video we'll be learning how I made the Victorian corset with outer neckline with collar. So if this is something you are interested in learning, please grab your chair and watch. So the first thing you want to do is to bring out your pattern paper. You can, as you all know, you cannot use freehand for corsets. It is not even possible. You are not going to get your accurate measurements. So get your pattern paper, place it just like this, and measure your length, your top length, your half length, your under bust, and your bust points. So I'm going to be using the full length of the paper for this. Then my half length in front is 16, then my under bust is 13, then my bust point is 10.5. So I'm going to rule out a straight line just to connect those lines together. Please, if you have not subscribed to this channel, kindly subscribe now. This will only encourage me to do more. And please do not forget to like this video as well. So after drawing those lines, if you have your hemming line, so you can draw that, but because I'm going to be using the full length of this paper, so that's why I didn't rule out the hemline. So the first thing you want to do is to measure your back measurement divided by 2, then your neck width and your neck depth, which I use 3 by 3 just for the basic neck. We are still going to use our normal neck that we are supposed to use. Then from that back measurement, I came down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. Then I connect my neck line as well. So the next thing we want to do now is to get our armhole, which we are going to measure from that shoulder line. We are going to measure our bust divided by 6 plus 1.5, whatever it is that it gives you. Measure a straight line, then you divide it into 2. Whatever it is you have in that area, you divide it by 2 so that we can have our armhole. Then from the point, you come in by half an inch. Then from your chest line, you measure your bust measurement. That is your bust divided by 4. Then you are going to connect the 3 lines together to give us our armhole. So after doing that, the next thing we want to do is to measure our nipple to nipple measurement. Mine is 4, that is 8 divided by 2, that is 4. So you are going to measure it from the down part all the way to the bust point. Then you are going to connect the lines. So after doing that, we want to get our darts. So for me, I'm going to be using 1.5 inch on both sides. If you are someone that you know that okay, you are on the smaller size or you have small boobs, you can use 1 inch on both sides. Then if you are working with a plus size, you can use 2. Then instead of using 2 inches on both sides, you can just use 3 inches on the side front, then 1 on the center front. But for me, I'm going to be like dividing it equally. That is 1.5 on this side and 1.5 on the other side. So I connect the line all the way to my under bust line. Then from there, we are going to be connecting to our bust point. Then I noticed I made a mistake measuring my bust point, so I'm going to correct that. So from your bust point line, you are going to come down by half an inch. Then you are going to connect that to it. So I made a mistake with half an inch. So I'm just going to connect my own dart with the initial line that I have coming before. I hope you understand this. Remember that is not my bust point measurement anymore. The one I just drew out now with my pen is my bust point. So on your shoulder line, you're going to divide whatever it is you have there by 2 into 2 equal parts. Then you're going to connect it to the dart in a slant form. So, and that is it. So I'm still going to use my marker to align everything so that you can see it very well. So after that, we are going to get our shoulder darts. So from the middle of this thing, I came out by 2 inches. So we are going to be cutting that out. That is our shoulder dart. And don't forget that we're working with halter neckline, so we are not going to be using the real back measurement. So I'm just trying to use my marker to rule everything out so that you can see clearly. So after I was done doing that, the next thing to measure is my body measurement. So on the bust point, I measured my bust measurement divided by 4. Then I replaced what I have in that area as the dart. I replaced it on the chest line. Then for my underbust is 28. That is 7 inches plus the 3 inches that we have for the dart. So we are going to add it. You are going to do the same thing for your waist. Your waist measurement divided by 4. Then you are going to replace that 3 inches we took away for the dart. Then you are going to do the same thing on the hip line too. Then for this corset, we are going to be reducing my waist by 4 inches. So that means 2 inches from the front, then 2 inches from the back. So that means 1 inch from one side of the front, then another 1 inch from the other side of the front. So we are still going to do that. This is just a normal basic dart. That is the reason why we had to replace it. So I want to get my half length in the front is 16, while the one I have at the back is 15. So from my bust point, I came down by 1 inch. Then I'm going to connect it to my real bust point line. Then I'm just going to rule that out because we are going to be cutting it out. So the next thing we want to do is to get our normal neckline. So from my chest line, I came down by half an inch. You can make it lower and you can make it more higher depending on what you want. Then I'm just going to use my curved rule to connect that. It's not going to be in a slant form, but it's going to be in a slant form, but in a curvy way. Yeah. Although it depends on what you want, you can make yours slant. Then from that center front, I'm just going to come in by half an inch. It depends on how open you want it to be, but it should not be more than half an inch or maybe 1 inch, so that you not have all your boobs showing. So I'm just going to indicate that there's going to be highlights there. So, and that is it for our neck area. So the next thing we want to get is our shoulder. So from the neck, I'm just going to use whatever it is I have there. You can go ahead and use 2 inches, and you can go ahead to use whatever it is you have. So I'm just going to mark out my new armhole. So you are going to fold this in or maybe cut it out anyhow. So do not forget that this 2 inch now is our new shoulder, is the shoulder that we are going to be using. Then from there I came down by 4 inch because that 4 inch happens to be my chest line divided by 2, because my chest line length was 8 inches when I wanted to determine the first armhole. So I'm going to be using the same measurement now. Then from there I'll be coming in by half an inch as well. So I'm just going to connect it to the old armhole that we have before. So if you don't understand the way I'm explaining it, just make sure you watch the video carefully so that you can understand. At this point, if you have not subscribed to this channel, please make sure you do so and give this video a thumbs up. So after doing that, I'm just going to open it up so that you can see that the way we folded it is very, very useful, because if assuming we didn't fold it, at the end of the day we are not going to get the accurate measurements because one is longer than the other. So the next thing we want to do is to get your extension for the chest area. And if you measure your back measurements, the normal basic measurements, you should have 3.5 around that neck area for the back. So from that chest line, you are going to go up by 3.5, which is whatever it is you have at your back. But for mine, I have 3.5. You are going to go in a slant way. Don't make it straight, please. Make it slant, just the way I've done mine. Then you are going to measure your shoulder. I have 2 inches, so I'm just going to use that 2. So from that 3.5 that I already measured, I'm going to measure my 2 inch, also in a slant form. Please do not forget. I'm going to connect that. Then I'll connect it to my neck measurement. So that is our collar. So now we are going to get our lapel. So you can use any measurements you want. You can use 3, you can use 3.5. But for this tutorial, I use 3. And that one too is going to be in a slant form. But I later realized mine was too slant. But still, make sure you make it in a slant form. Then you're going to connect it, whether in a slant form or in a curvy form. You're going to connect it to the neck that we just created. Please pay attention to what I am doing here so that you won't make any mistake. So after using my marker to rule everything out, that is what I have. And on the hemming line, I just came up by 1 inch on the side, just to give us that curvy look. So now we are going to cut out our pieces. Do not forget, we still have something else to do. We've not snatched our waist yet. So after cutting it out, you should have something that looks like this. Then the next thing we want to do now is to snatch our waist. But before that, this is how your pieces should be looking. And this is the lapel that we cut out the other time. You can see how it's sitting perfectly. And you can also see the armhole as well. So after joining, this is our shoulder, then that is going to the back. So we are almost done. So we are going to divide whatever it is we have at the waist area, we are going to divide it into 2. But please make sure that the line that is going to be at your bust area is a bit wide, up to like 4, because my side bust is 4. Like my nipple to nipple is 4, my side bust is 4 as well. So that when you are going to be caging your fabric, you are going to have enough space for your breast to sit. So, and at the waistline, we are going to just go out by 1/2 inch on both sides. Then we are going to connect the lines. So go ahead and fold in your side bust dart. So we are going to connect the line to our bust points. Then you're going to connect it to the hip line as well, but you come up by 2 inch from the hip line. Then we are going to cut the dart out, and that is going to serve as our side from 1 and side from 2. So after cutting, this is what I have. This is my center front, my side front 1 and side front 2, and that is all for the front pattern. Then for the back, I've gone ahead to measure my basic measurement, and don't forget that my half length at the back is different from the one at the front. The front was 16 inches and this is 15 inches. So it's going to affect the length as well. I'm going to minus 1 inch from the length as well. Then the first thing I will do is to measure my nipple to nipple measurement as well. Then we are going to get our dart, which is 1/2 inch on both sides. Then we are going to connect it to the bust line and the other one to the hip line. Don't forget to come up by 1 or 2 inches from the hip line. Then we are going to measure our basic measurements, the bust, the waist, and the hip measurements. So after doing that, you are going to connect the lines together and you get your neck measurement as well. So from my chest line, I just came down by 1/2 inch from my chest line. So then I came up by 1 inch on that side as well. So don't forget to come down by 1/2 inch just for your panel to sit well at the back. I mean your what's it called, your eyelet panel. Then we are going to do the same thing we did for the front. You are going to divide whatever it is you have there into 2. Then you snatch your waist by 1/2 inch on both sides. So that means we removed 2 inch for the back and 2 inch for the front, which makes it 4 inch. So my waist was 28 inches before. So after snatching everything, it's going to be 24. So now you're going to cut it out. Then do not forget that this line that I'm cutting out here is just a starting point. It has nothing to do with the measurement. So now you are going to determine how open you want your back to be. I used 1.5 inch for this. You can go ahead and use 2 inches or 3, depending on what you want. And that is basically all for the drafting of this pattern. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all your love. And if you have not subscribed to this channel, please go ahead and subscribe and hit on the bell button that you see beside it. It's just for you to get notified anytime I post new videos. Don't forget to like this video, drop your comment, and if you have any video requests, you can go ahead and drop it at the comment section. Thank you, and I'll see you in my next video.